Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Give me a quick thumbs up if you can see the screen says the Learn About Google Productivity slide deck. Can you see that? I got a yes from in the chat, a couple yeses in the chat. Okay. Great, great, great. Okay. Welcome. I apologize for not having any video on. I'm having some trouble with my bandwidth today, so I wanted to make sure that you could see the screen because that is more important than seeing my face. So I apologize for that. If you are one of those people who likes to see who's talking, I completely understand that. But we are going to be talking today about Google productivity. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little too fast. Google productivity. My name is Olivia Morris, and I work for Metronet. I am located in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I know some of you may be from out of the state of Minnesota and not be very familiar, so I'll do a real quick overview. So as I said, Olivia Morris is my name, and I am the program manager for Metronet. Metronet is a multi-county, multi-type library system located in the Twin Cities. The state of Minnesota funds multi-county, multi-type library systems across the entire state. So there are 7 multi-county, multi-types, which we just say multi-type for short because saying multi-county, multi-type every time is such a mouthful. So multi-type, if I say that, that means Metronet and these 6 others around the state. So our region is the Twin Cities area, and we provide programs, services, networking events, training, seminars, scholarships, all sorts of different things. We essentially look at ourselves as a library's library. So we are here to provide support for our libraries. As I said, in the Twin Cities, although we do some of our programming, we are a part of the Professional Development Alliance. So this program is offered through PDA, the Professional Development Alliance, and so we offer this nationwide. So if you've come to us from another place, that is how you've gotten here, and we are very happy to have you. Even if you are not in Minnesota, if you are interested in any of our other programming, you are absolutely welcome to attend. We are all inclusive at Metronet. And on the slide deck that you were seeing there, there is a live link to our events and programs page. You can find out about additional Learnabouts and our other programs there. I will share this slide deck at the end, so you will have access to it, and the links inside are live. So you will be able to click on that and get to it, so no one has to screenshot or try to copy down the URLs today. I'm just quickly checking the chat to make sure. Okay, great. So I'm working at a couple of different screens, so I will try to keep my eye on the chat periodically. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat or in the Q&A through Zoom, and I will be sure to get to all of them before the end. I promise that. Today, we're going to take a look at productivity through Google. So through the lens of the Google universe, how you can be a little more productive. And our main focus is going to be the Google app or Google product tasks, but we're also going to look at how it integrates with the other projects to make it more useful. So if you are a to-do list kind of person, I am definitely a to-do list kind of person. And I have used, I'm fairly certain, every to-do list tool on the market. I have tried them all. Some I like, some I don't. I'm just not real fond of the interface in quite a few of them. And then I thought, well, let's try what Google is offering. And I will say, previously, tasks and what used to be called reminders never really worked well. But in the past, 6 months or so, 6 months to a year, Google has really gotten rid of the reminders feature and focused all of their energy on tasks, especially integrating it with its other products, which made it so much more useful. We are a Google Office, so everything I do is in Gmail, Google Drive, Google Calendar, etc. So being able to use tasks across all of those features really helps me stay on track and be more productive. Now, if you are not in the Google world as quite as dedicated as I am, you may not find this quite as useful, but if you are just looking for a way to keep track of your to-dos, your tasks, etc., I think we can definitely help you out and show you some tools today. So We will also be briefly looking at Google Keep, and then I'll show you some tips and tricks. I'll take questions, make sure we get to all the questions by the end, and then talk about our next Learnabout event. So, brief break to see if any questions have popped up. I don't see any. Great. All right. So, we are going to begin just talking about Google Tasks. Tasks, first thing you'll see a link on there. And as I said, I will have the slide deck for you at the end. So you will have access to all of these links. I'm a huge fan of Google's support system. They are really great about writing articles explaining how to use their stuff. So I go to the Google Help page for pretty much any question that I have around any of the Google products. And I've found when doing these Learnabouts that anything that's Google focused, I like to include that link because if I find it useful, I'm guessing you will too. So if you're just listening along today and then maybe a week or two from now, you really want to go in and kind of dedicate yourself to using tasks and you're like, oh, I know she said this, but I can't remember. First of all, you can absolutely watch the recording. I will have a link for that at the end as well. You can rewatch this at any time, but you can also go to that help page and kind of get yourself a brief refresher. So that is how it works. And now let's take a look at tasks itself. You will see that there is a list in there that tasks integrates with Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Drive, Gmail, Sheets, Slides, and Chat. So if you use any of these products, you can definitely use tasks right alongside of it. And then, of course, across them. So if you use more than one, if you are a Drive and Docs type of person, you can use it across both of those. So let's stick with tasks for just a minute before I jump into Gmail and Calendar, which we'll be getting to shortly. So let's look at, actually, let's just stay right here in the Google Slides, since Slides does support tasks. If you are looking for tasks, how do I find it? Where is it? That kind of thing. It's going to be along the right-hand side of your screen in what they call their taskbar, which is kind of confusing because tasks is an app in the taskbar. And you can all see my screen. You're probably thinking, well, I don't see anything on the right-hand side of your screen. If that's true for your own screen as well, in the lower right-hand corner, there's this little half moon tab with an arrow. You'll notice when I hovered over it, it says show side panel. So if I click that, then the side panel pops open, and now you have these quick access apps. So there's Google Calendar, the little light bulb is Google Keep, the contacts, Google Maps. You can add more items. So if you find that you are looking and you're like, oh, this is useful, I wish I could put more things in here that I use on a regular basis, you can click that plus sign and kind of explore through the store and find out which items that you can add to this taskbar here. And then, of course, the one I skipped, the blue circle with the blue check mark within it is Google Tasks. And I'm going to open it and let you see what it looks like. Just click on it to open it, and it will open in this side panel here for you to see. It is quite slowly. There we go. As I said, some bandwidth issues today. So you are looking at my actual task list. I will say it's not 100% accurate because I did take some things out because I knew I was doing this live and not necessarily wanting to show everything on my task list. And I also brought some things back from previous things and left both personal items, so you can see do the laundry, as well as an old item from before, which I had completed but did not check off the task list, which is why it's giving me that red, this was due 4 weeks ago kind of terrifying thing. All right, I'll keep it moving here. I just wanted to make sure. So this is just a quick overview of what a task list looks like. That's a lot of L's and S's in that sentence I just said. It was very awkward to say. It felt strange in my mouth. But basically, it's just a list of things that you want to do. So at any time, you can come in here through any of these products that I mentioned. So if you're in Calendar, if you're in Drive, wherever, Docs, wherever you are, you can open up this and see, and the task list will remain the same. So for example, let's jump over to my email. There's my Gmail. And then again, I will open up that side panel. And for the record, my side panels are almost always open so that I have access to these. I specifically closed them before this event so that you would be able to see, and it could kind of refresh in your brain like, oh yeah, they are hidden unless you leave them otherwise. So if I open up tasks in my Gmail, I feel like I clicked that, but apparently I didn't. There we go. You'll see it's the exact same task list that we were viewing in my slide deck. So it's the same across as long as you are signed into your Google account, which is nice. So I generally leave the task list open when I'm in my Gmail. That the Gmail and calendar are where I use it the most. You may find that it works better for you in a different area. That's fine. So if I switch back to the slide deck, you'll see that it remains open. So you have to actively close it in the upper right if you don't want it constantly showing. And if I were to close it in the upper right here of the slide deck, you'll notice that the taskbar stays open here. So you can re-access it at any time. In order to get rid of that, you would have to click this arrow to hide that little side panel. So again, just however you prefer it. Like I said, I like to have it open. So I pretty much always have it operational within my Gmail and my calendar. Not for this, because again, I was trying to demo what I was doing. So I'm just going to stay here in Google Calendar just because there's no point in jumping back to a different page and opening it. It's the same throughout all of them, which is a nice feature. So looking at the taskbar itself, obviously you can scroll. Whoops, I have to be on the taskbar to scroll up and down in the taskbar, but you can scroll through to see tasks. At the top here, and I'm not really sure why it's hiding behind this little icon. I don't think it normally does that. Let me close it and open it again and see if there's a reason why. Nope, it's hidden again. Maybe it's always like that, and I've just never noticed because I don't focus on it. You know, I don't stare intently at all the little pieces. I just like to add my tasks. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But what this says underneath the little icon there is my name. It says Olivia Morris's list, which is that's the general name that they populated my first list with. And I haven't changed it because I'm the only one who uses it. So I don't really care. However, I wanted to have multiple lists to show you, and I actually do have multiple lists. So I'm going to click. You'll notice next to the name of this list, there's a little drop down arrow. And when I click that, you see a few options. So one is starred. The next one is Olivia Morris's list with a check mark. That shows that we are currently on this list. The next one is vacation. And then the very bottom is create a new list. So you can go ahead and create however many lists that you want. As far as I'm aware, Google does not have any limits on the number of lists. So that may be true. I Googled to try to find that, and I didn't see anything that popped up on it. But it's possible with a free Gmail account. We do use Google Workspace, so we have a paid account. So that may have something to do with it. But as far as I know, you can go ahead and create numerous lists to make yourself happy. So I will go ahead and create a new list just so you can see what it looks like. Create a new list. What do you want to call it? Let's call it Learnabout, which is what we're doing today. So why not, huh? We'll use that as our demo. And then it'll be easier when I go ahead and delete it. And so now that Learnabout list is default, and what you need to do is begin by adding a task. So when you hit that button for add a task, it's going to give you these options. So we're going to give it a title, and we're going to call it task 1. I know that's super clever. And then you can, if you wish, add details so you can explain what that means or put a little note in there, whatever it is that you need to remember. You can come down to the bottom one and create a calendar appointment. So I want to do it at this time. I want to repeat it. This is a task I'm going to do every week or every month or every year, whatever the case may be. You can set all of that through those options there. And then to the right of where it says where I type the title, you'll notice a little menu there. So you can click options to do more with your task. It doesn't give you a ton of options, but here is where you can delete it. So if you put in a task and then you're like, oh, I don't need it because somebody sent me this calendar invite and I'm going to use that instead. You can go ahead and delete this task very easily. You can also add subtasks. Ooh, that's a tough word to say, subtasks. So if you have a task, but it's going to have multiple parts, you don't have to create an individual task for each part. You can just create the overarching project and then add individual pieces to that project all under one heading. However it works for you. I find that everybody is different in the way that they like to create lists. Our brains process that information differently. So for me, I actually like each individual task to be its own thing. I'm not a fan of subtasks. Subtasks. I don't know why I'm struggling with that word, but I am. So if I have a project and it has 4 parts, I would want to create 4 separate tasks. And for me, it's just my brain processes better by looking at each item as one to do rather than parts of a whole. And I will say quite honestly, I like clicking them off the list. It makes me happy to check off each part. So you'll notice, I'm going to get out of that, this little circle next to the title, that is how you mark it as completed. So when I complete a task, and let's say I completed this one, task 1, I'm going to go ahead and mark it as completed. And now, oh, look at that. All my tasks are complete. Good for me. I can undo that if I did it by mistake. There's an undo down at the bottom. And then once that was hidden, you now see at the bottom a little arrow that shows you your completed tasks. So you can always look back and see items that you have previously completed. So if you find that something pops up that you hadn't done before and now you're being asked to do it on a regular basis and you want to just, redo that task, you can, click on it and then reset the tasks and unmark it as complete so it will pop back into your list. So then you can reuse the same task that you've already completed and maybe then go into your options and change it to, clicking on the actual task itself, going to date and time, maybe setting up a repeat or something like that. There's a million reasons why you would have to reuse a task or recycle an old task. Sometimes it's just easier to do that rather than add all of the details, especially if you've created subtasks for it and you spent the time creating it, you might want to just undo it and have it available to you. So that is how you do that. I can add another task at any time. Task 2, again, killing with the creativity today. I skipped the T, task 3. So they are on there and you are probably thinking, yeah, but task 1 is the first one. So why isn't it in that order? And to the right of add a task, you will see the vertical 3 dots. That is your list options. So it defaults to the order in which you put them in. So the first thing that you put in would be at the bottom of your list, as you saw. Task 1, task 2, and 3 are above it. If you want to change that, you can change it by date. So if I select date, that didn't do anything to the tasks that I put on there because I did not add dates to them. I simply left them as individual tasks. So they're going to default to the order. If I add a date to any of them, if I go into task 2 and say that task 2 has to be done by tomorrow, and I'm not even going to worry about the time, just tomorrow. Now that I've sorted by date, task 2 shows under tomorrow, and then these 2 are under no date. So it's very responsive to every individual change, and then that will remain constant across all of your Google platforms. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and see if there's any questions. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. All right, just making sure that no one has any questions. So that is kind of down. Is there something else in this what I was supposed to tell you about? Oh, also in here, you can rename the list. So if I called it Learnabout, but then I turned out I'd rather call it programming or whatever the case may be, rename your list. You can delete the entire list through here. You can also print if you have the list in there and you want to print it out. You can certainly do that. I don't have any printer attachments here, so I don't do anything like that, but you certainly can. Keyboard shortcuts, Google puts those all over the place. They like people to have access to them. So if you are a keyboard shortcut kind of person, you can click in here and see what sort of shortcuts work for you. I generally find that I love keyboard shortcuts. In tasks, it's not really that useful because for the most part, you're going to be using the mouse to maneuver through your tasks. So I don't find it very typing intensive. Pretty much only for entering the task information is the only thing I use the keyboard for. And then below that, there move reminders to tasks. So as I mentioned earlier, Google used to use reminders. So you can set up a reminder, remind me to email this person, whatever the case may be. And they've moved away from the reminders system. And it's my understanding that any reminders people had in their Google accounts were automatically migrated to tasks, although as my understanding, that's an ongoing process. So if you do still have some reminders, you can click on this to move them into your tasks. And then each reminder will show up as an individual task to be completed along with whatever. So if it said, remind me Tuesday at 3:00, if you put that in, it will come up dated as Tuesday at 3:00. Again, it's supposed to happen automatically, but if in the interim, if you want to switch to tasks and you still have some reminders, you could do it manually through that. And I'm guessing that little button will go away at some point because they're going to stop offering reminders altogether. So this is pretty much what tasks looks like. You can switch at any time between your lists. So I'm going to jump back to this list here, and you can see it. If it's an email reminder that I'm using, which I do quite frequently to add an email to my task list to remind myself to follow up on this. This is something that I need to do this OLLI class, and then the attachment shows in there as well. Now, I could go into my email and find that same information, but my email is a massive block of information, as a lot of people's email are. So I would have to come up and do a search to find that specific email. Having it as a task then just allows me to access it right there in the task list. It's a lot easier to find, organize, and keep myself focused. Saves me a lot of time and effort. Also, we have these little stars next to them. So if there's something you can use stars however you wish. So it basically gives you a chance to mark something as important. So this is specifically this Learnabout that I'm doing right now, the productivity Learnabout, which I then starred to remind myself that this is like a big important thing. I could not forget to do it. Obviously, if I didn't show up, that would have been very, very bad. So I put that on the starred list. I put this one on the starred list just because I wanted to have a couple of things on my starred list, because under the lists, you will notice there is a list called starred. So if you are starring things because they're important to you across various lists, they all come together in one. So I find that to be so since I use this for both personal and professional, I have different lists for different things. But if there's specifics like the top of the line stuff that I literally have to get done and there's no waiting on it, I can star those and then look at them all in one list. So it's like a merge, I guess, if you will. So I kind of like that feature. I do star things because I want to make sure that I note them and that they're important. But then once realizing I could do that across multiple lists and see them all in one place, for me, the way I normally use it, it's not set up this way right now because I tried to clean everything out before I did this so you'd be able to see it in action. But when I have my tasks list, so first thing Monday morning when I'm not doing this, I would come in here and I would look at all of the list of things that I need to do, and I'd be like, okay, these are the ones I absolutely have to get done today, and I'd boom, 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 and then I might click on a different list that I have. So like it's called a vacation list because I'm leaving for vacation on Friday of this week, so I have a lot of things to do, and if it's like, well, the things I need to get done today on Monday, I have to finish shutting off the outside water and winterizing the house. So I go through all my lists, star the things that I want to do today, and then default to my starred list. So then instead of seeing everything that I have to do in total, I can just see the things that I want to get done today. And then once those are crossed off, I start fresh tomorrow, click the things that are most important to me, and focus on my starred list. Hopefully that was clear. I felt a little rambly when I was saying that. Janice is asking, how do you attach the email to the task list? Good question, Janice. So, sorry, trying to click on the right thing here. So, when you have a particular, let me shut this just to it gets a little crowded in here. So if you have a particular email, so this rent invoice, and I want to put this in my to-do list, my task list, I'm going to open up the email so that I can see it. And then across the top toolbar here, you see all these little funny icons that you may never ever use. And then this one here is add to tasks. So if I click that, Now it went over here. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. That makes me so happy. So now clicking that immediately put it in my my task list, and the attachment is automatically generated in the list. But when you see this, now you see it and it's on my vacation list. Well, obviously this is not a vacation item. This is a work item from my Olivia Morris list. So next to the name, the vertical 3 dots, I can click task options, and you'll see under the list, vacation has a check mark next to it, and I don't want it on this list. So I'm going to check Olivia Morris list. It immediately leaves the vacation list. And then I jump over to Olivia Morris's list, and boop, there it is. So now when I look at my task list, and to be fair, this is not a thing I have to follow up on, but if it were, I quickly add it to my tasks. And then the next time I look at my task list, I'm like, oh, I have to do that. What was that invoice again? What was that piece of information, etc.? It's right there. It's an easy check. I do that a lot with emails. So there are just some emails that are not like an instant follow-up. It's like, okay, well, I have to do this thing and then I have to follow up. So I add them to my task list, and then it's very easy to find them again and go back to it and respond to that email with the whatever information that I'm looking that I had to share. You are welcome, Janice. So that is how you do that. Let me jump back over here and make sure that I am on track here. I've kind of progressed from just tasks into calendar in Gmail. Okay, so we just looked at calendar, or excuse me, at Gmail. I showed you how to add a task list to your list, which is very helpful. And as I said, this will just remain here open unless you actively shut it. And again, your mileage may vary on whether you like having it open or not. I've seen some people prefer to only open it up when they want to use it. But for me, I find when it's open and it's sitting there, anytime I open up my email, and I know how it can be with email, we all know, professionally speaking, like you open up email and you'll go down a rabbit hole and it's like, what did I come in here to do? And I can't remember anymore. But having that task list helps keep me on track moving forward. It's like, okay, well, these are the things I need to be focusing on instead of poking around and reading this, that, or other newsletter that came in. So for me, I like it open. It makes me focus a little bit better. So that is calendar. Let me also show you, see, that was Gmail. I keep saying the wrong words. That was Gmail. Let's show calendar. So I'm going to click over to my Google Calendar. As you can see, it is hidden. I don't have it open currently. I'm going to show it in the side panel so you can see it there. And then I'm going to click tasks to open it up. And you'll notice again, exactly the same as the other lists, including the new one that I have just added that you saw me add through Gmail. Also in here, if you're looking at the calendar, and I'm going to shut this now because it's just a little too confusing when I'm talking. If you're just looking at today, this is my Monday the 13th for my work. You'll notice at the very top of this page, it says 2 pending tasks. And if I click on that, it's showing me these 2, which are the items when I open my tasks, which I can do right through here. So I clicked on that to see what the tasks were, and then I can click open tasks, and here they are. And then it's these ones that are marked as overdue. So I hadn't completed them from when I put them in. And so that's why they're showing up as pending tasks on my calendar. You can at any time, I'm going to close this. So if you're on your Google Calendar and you want to add a task, you could obviously go over here and click on this and open up task. But you can also simply click in your calendar page like you would add a new event. So if you click, it's giving you this option of adding a new event. So we're going to say, I'm going to call it task 4, continuing my streak. And instead of an event, which is defaulting in calendar to event, I'm going to go all the way to the right and make it a new task. And when I click on that, then I get the task options. So today does not repeat. I'm not going to add a time. I'm not going to add this. I'm going to default it to Olivia's list, but I could click on this and put it on. Actually, I will move it to Learnabout list because that's where I put the others. And then I'm going to hit save. Okay. And now it's on my calendar as task number 4 today. It's also in my task list under the Learnabout list, because that's the one I put it on, under task 4 today. Still defaulting to time on this list. That's why they are sorted differently on the Learnabout as they are on the Olivia Morris list. I actually sort this, my work list, by time normally. I took it off of that because I wanted you to see me change those, but I almost always do this one by time because it helps me to find out the things that are marked as have to be done today, et cetera, et cetera. It's really only useful if it tells me when I need to get them done, mostly. Let's pause for any questions here. Not seeing any questions. Okay, great. I will keep going then. So as I said, they do integrate throughout all of them, and it's just instant. So anything that you were looking at. If you are in your calendar and you don't see this little task up here, you probably don't have it enabled. And how to fix that is on this left-hand side under calendar, below create, below the monthly view, below search, time insights, you will see right here, my calendars. Click this little drop-down arrow, and it will open up all of the calendars that you are currently accessing through your Google Calendar. And if tasks is not checked, if I uncheck it, those items will disappear. You saw they just disappeared off this top bar. So you do have to have that checked in order for your tasks to appear on your calendar. But once it's checked, then any tasks that you add appear if you put a date and time on them. Actually, not a time. You can add a time and then they would appear at a specific time. So if I added 4 o'clock, and let's do that real quick just so you can see what that looks like. So no title, I'm going to do task 5, switch it to task. Today, I will add a time of 5 p.m. Scrolling down for a week to get to 5 p.m. And then I will save. So now because I've added, so this one I added and I put it today. I added it to the calendar for today. I think I added one earlier for tomorrow. I did. There's task 2 showing up tomorrow. Task 4 was scheduled for today. Tasks 1 and 2 and 3, I did not give a specific date or time for. Task 5, I gave both a date and time, so it appeared on my calendar at that time. So in any format, wherever, if you're in slides, sheets, it doesn't matter. If you put a date and time in, then on your calendar, those tasks will appear at that date and time if you have tasks checked. Good there. Okay, no more questions. Great. Let's jump back over here. So I mentioned on this slide when we're talking about Google Tasks that I love the support, the help pages that Google offers. I included them for each different section. So that first one that I gave was just about how to use Google Tasks, how to add an item, how to create a list, etc. This one is specific to Google Calendar. So if you're interested in how to do it for Google Calendar, you can go in there. And then the Gmail one is also linked in there. So when you pop open the link for calendar, you will also see one that says Gmail, and you can click on that to find out more about tasks and Gmail. Although, as I've shown you, it's pretty straightforward. That's one of the beautiful things about tasks is there's just not a lot to it. I've used many different to-do lists, and they all have all these features, which I think sound good in theory. But for me, in practice, when I'm doing it, I don't need a lot of bells and whistles. I need like old school pen and paper where I used to write down the items I need to do and then cross them off when they're done. I'm looking for simple and straightforward because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I don't want to spend a half an hour creating a task list because that's not productive. That slows down my productivity. I need a couple seconds. Here's what I need to do. Throw a couple things in there. One button, click through my email to get those items in there. And boom, now I've got a usable list that's actually working for me, and I don't have to spend a lot of time curating it. So you'll see all of these different tasks are now in here. Here's task 5 today. This is defaulted to my order. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, wrong thing. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and switch that to date. So you can see, and that this is actually a great one to do it on. Anything that was incomplete, if it's past the deadline that you gave yourself and you didn't check it off, when I sort it by date, you'll notice they show up at the very top in red under past. So these are items I have not yet completed. Once I complete them, I can click it off, or I can go in and delete the task themselves if it's not something that I'm ever going to do. Maybe I put it on there as an idea. You never know. And then here's today, task 5 at 5 o'clock, and then other things with no date are listed below. So that is just a quick showing of how that view works. Shut that. And as I said, can get some support here. I already showed you through calendar and Gmail tasks. Let's pause to see if there's any questions. So far, so good. Either you are a pensive group or I'm doing a great job of explaining it. Let's just assume it's the latter. Let's take a look at Google Keep. So when I was developing this, Google Keep kept popping up, and I will say I've used Google Keep. I'm not wild about it. If you are not familiar, I will show it to you. So if you are not a diehard Google user, you should know that any of Google's products, if you are looking to find them, it's like, oh, I want to know what Keep is, or I want to see it, or something like that. Type in the name, so keep.google.com. You'll notice it defaulted there. And that works for docs, docs.google.com, sheets.google.com, slides.google.com, gmail.google.com, etc. Whatever their product is, just put .google.com after the name and you can get direct access to it. So clicking on that, and this is what Google Keeps looks like. So it's in effect, a note-taking app. And so you can come in here and you can create a new note, and then you'll see the notes that are in here. You can save things from the internet to your Google Keep so that so a website or a photograph or whatever can be done. You can create your list. So it's fine. What it's not is crazy intuitive. I find it's a little clunky to use. And for some reason, with the note-taking version, when they changed from reminders, when they used to have reminders and Keep were integrated. So any reminders, you'll notice there's still a reminders tab in here. So any reminders you created would appear in your Keep, and any notes that you kept could appear in your reminders. When they changed to tasks, they took away that feature. So now Google Keep sits by itself. It has an option for reminders, but setting those reminders do not appear in your task list. There's no integration with Google Keep. I don't know why. I'm not really sure the logic behind Google's taking that ability away. It used to exist. It doesn't any longer. So I find this less useful now because of that, and because I already found it kind of clunky to use. I really don't use it very much. You'll notice there's a bunch of stuff in here. It's all old, and a lot of it is like drawings. My nieces and nephews come in here and draw different pictures and color and different things. Because I have a Chromebook with a touch screen, so they can come in here and just like finger color, whatever. So not the point, but so that's Google Keep. If you're not familiar with it, it's a note-taking app. I feel like you can do so much better as far as note-taking apps. And that's a whole other thing. I could do an entire Learnabout on note-taking apps because there are so many of them. But if you use it, that's great. Just be aware that your tasks do not appear in Keep, and nor do your reminders or any notes from Keep appear in your tasks. They do not cross back and forth. So I wanted to make sure that I drew attention to that. And then because I wanted to make sure that I wanted to let you know, here is the support page for Google Keep. So if you do like it, or if you have never heard of it and wanted to use it more today, after today, you could certainly dig through this support page and find out more about how to use Google Keep and make it more useful for you. Just realize that your tasks are going to have to be a separate thing. But if you're fine with keeping notes about stuff separate from your tasks, more power to you. I'm all about that. So are there any questions so far? I'm not seeing any questions. So I will continue And what I'm going to show you now is some tips and tricks, things that will help you and or not. So as far as tasks is concerned, I use an iPhone. So I have Gmail on I have a Chromebook that I use for work because I said we are a Google office. So the Chromebook works the best. But I find that I use my iPhone a lot for things. So it's particularly my email. I think that the interface, the Gmail interface for iPhone, the iOS interface, is just like a million times better and more user friendly than the desktop version. This is a little bit clunkier, I've found, as far as there's just so much on the page, all these different stuff. Whereas on the iPhone, it's just very straightforward, a real streamlined view, which is what I'm after when I'm doing my email. But as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of using tasks, which I like to have open. And so I wanted to see if there was an iPhone version. There is. So that's a good thing, right? There is an iPhone version for tasks. There is also an Android version. The downside is it's a separate app on both Android and iPhone. So you have to, at least for Apple, I don't use Android, but I'm assuming there's some sort of store equivalent to the App Store. For iPhone, you have to go into the App Store and download the Google Tasks app, and it's not in Calendar. So I can't, excuse me, it's not in Gmail. So when I open my Gmail and I'm reading it's not right there. I can still send to tasks from my Gmail and it will still add it on my phone, but I have to then close out of my mail app and open up my task app. It's not a major thing. I usually open them both in the morning and just swipe between them on the iPhone. So it's not a huge thing, but it's just a little bit of an annoyance that it's two separate things instead of one thing, which when I think about it kind of seems like, I did complain about how cluttered this version could be. So probably they were trying to keep it streamlined and not clutter it, which I do appreciate, but being aware that it is two separate things. And at least on the iPhone, you have the ability to create a widget for your tasks so you can have it right on your homepage and use it for whatever you want. I do use that. I do find it a lot simpler to add a task using the widget. So another reminder on here that anything you create and keep does not show in tasks. And then I have a couple other things that I want to show you to make it more useful. Meanwhile, I'm going to close some of this. Google Keep, I do not need open. I will leave those open. So if you're using it on here and you want to have your tasks not be in this pane, you don't like this little side pane because maybe you think, like I do, it makes your screen look cluttered and you'd prefer to have it like in its own tab so that you could jump between the tab. Maybe you're a dedicated tab user. I sure am. This is actually a very limited amount of tabs for me. If I click on my one tab, I actually usually have just dozens and dozens and dozens of tabs open at a time. I'm definitely a heavy tab user. So having tab tasks in a different tab would definitely be useful for me. So I am going to show you, I clicked on the wrong tab. I'm going to show you what Google does not allow is tasks.google.com. So I said earlier, you can do that for almost any Google product. For some reason, it doesn't. If you type in tasks.google.com, it goes to a broken URL. But this whole URL, someone found what the tasks is. So you just have to get this and bookmark it. Again, included in the slide deck. But once you have it, you can go ahead and click on this link and open it up. And as long as you're signed in, which I am, give it a second to do its thing. Oh my, like I said, bandwidth issues today. I don't know what is going on. It's not usually this slow. Normally it's like it instantly opens up. Okay, so now you can see my previous task list. Instead of in that minuscule little panel on the side, it's now a full tab that I can use. It still has the same functionality. I can jump between lists up here to see the different lists that I have created at any time, and it just remains open in that one giant tab. So if you like that, you could follow that link from the URL, make tasks its own tab, and then you could actually bookmark this, which I think I might have. No, I didn't because I used tasks board instead. But you could bookmark it and go to it that way as well, saving yourself the trouble. And then you could every day just click that bookmark and open up your tasks pane and have it handy for you. Kind of similar to making tasks its own tab, but instead of this link, it's an extension. If you're not familiar with extensions are like little mini apps that Chrome allows you to add to the browser to enhance the experience, much like you on the iPhone would add an app to your phone to use to do something else. So anything Chrome doesn't offer, people create these little extensions and then you can access them through the Chrome Web Store. Like I said, if you're not familiar, that's what they are. If you are familiar, you're probably aware that they are to the right of your URL bar here. So all of these tiny icons that my cursor is running over right now, these are extensions. I am a big fan of extensions. I use them constantly because we are Google Chrome. This is my full list of extensions. As you can see, it is quite extensive. Little play on words for you. And I actually do a Learnabout all about Chrome extensions, which I think you can find on our YouTube page when I show you that in a little while. So make full screen for tasks extension is this one. So it looks like the task symbol, but instead of the circle, it's in a square. So I'm going to click that and it's going to open it up. And there is your full screen. I actually prefer this to the tasks in a tab. The reason being is this right here. Instead of having to navigate between lists by doing that drop down in the full screen version, they give me all of my lists right here. And then you'll notice the little 6 dots next. I can actually change the order of these lists. I could click and drag them to a different order. So I don't know why you need to, but if you wanted to, you can. You can add a new list very simply and straightforward right here. You can add a new task very straightforward right here. The only downfall I find to the full screen for tasks is this hideous yellow bar across the top. It's an eyesore, and I don't know why they have it on there, but so they do. They've also integrated a search bar, which I do like. So if you're looking for specific, I know I created a task, but I don't remember what it was called, type in a keyword, etc., and it will search through your individual task lists. And no questions. I will keep plowing forward. We've got about 12 minutes left, and we are almost done. So that is great. So those are just a couple ways that you can use tasks sort of differently than Google intended. And here are a couple more. 2 more extensions. Oh, sorry, couple more, 4 more extensions. Actually, nope, full screen for tasks extension. Apparently, I liked that so much, I put it on here twice. Look at that. All right, good to know. So I just showed you that one. The other one is the Quick G tasks, and this is the link to get it from the Chrome store, and I'm fairly certain I have that downloaded as well. I don't know if it's this one. No, that's sent to. Let's just scroll through here and find it. Quick G tasks. Oh, it's this one. I thought that was AnyDo. Thought that was a completely different app. That's because that's AnyDo. You can see they look very similar. They're both blue with a check mark in them. So it's this one. So this is a way of putting it in your extensions bar here, and then you can look at it without having to open it in something else. So then if I were in, say, I don't know, if I was looking at Vulture and I was reading an article, because that's, I'm killing time for a few minutes waiting for a meeting to start. And so I'm looking in Vulture, and then it's like, oh, wait, what was I supposed to be doing? You can still click on this in any screen and get your task list. So that is kind of a nice feature. I don't have to leave the tab that I'm on to see what's upcoming. I can just leave it open or just click on this at any time to get it. I can also add a task right here from this. So it's like a shortcut. So I do like that version of it. So that's Quick G tasks. Okay. The next one is tasks board. And that one, the link was atrocious, so I just hyperlinked it here. So in the name, but I actually have it open up here. I've bookmarked that one. So much like the send to, I'm sorry, just like the full screen, etc. You can look at tasks board, which will open up here very shortly. And in this version, you now get all of your lists as individual boards all on one page. So if you prefer not to jump between them, you want everything open in front of you, tasks board is a way to do that. So that is just a free app that you can download. So if you click on the link from let me jump back because that actually did not default to a new tab like it was supposed to. And so it went away from my slide deck, which is a little irritating, but thus is the danger of doing a live presentation, right? Sometimes things just do not go as planned. And hopefully this won't take all afternoon to load. Normally I have very quick, very smooth internet, but for some reason, starting this morning, it's just been really slow and clunky. And I don't know, I never understand what causes that. I'm not a techie person behind the scenes. I don't understand how it all works, but I noticed today earlier that it was just really, really slow. All right, here we go. So again, full screen has it all up there. Tasks board is similar, but it shows all individual lists on one page. So it basically creates a new board for you. If you think of it like Pinterest, you're creating a new board every time you create a new list. So it's just an alternate way to view your tasks if you prefer. The last one that I'm going to show you, the last tip, is send to Google Tasks. I think of all of the ones that I am showing you so far, this one is my favorite. I use this frequently and I find it very, very useful. So for example, I will stick with Vulture because I was just on it and this was going to be my example earlier. So if you're in here and you're reading this article, what does Hollywood want to be? Or you've clicked on this article and you're like, boy, I really want to read this article. But then right at that very second, someone walks into your office and they're like, we need you to blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, I don't have time to read this right now. You can, if you have installed the app, the extension for send to Google Tasks. Now that it's open, here is the icon. I have the dark mode on and it's a dark icon, so it's a little hard to see, but it's the one that looks like it's in shadow there. And if you hover over them, they show you, it says sent to Google Tasks. When I click on that, pretty sure it just did it there, but let's jump over to my tasks and you should be able to then see it. Yep, there it is. So under Olivia Morris's list, there is that article that I just wanted to read. I'm going to click over into my inbox. And there it is as well. Post strikes, what does Hollywood want to be? So the article itself that I was on is linked in there, as well as the actual URL. So I can click on that to go back to it and read that article at any time. You can do that with like a whole web page. So I went into a specific article. I could have done it with the Vulture homepage, and then it would have just sent me to the Vulture homepage. But really, I haven't found any sites that it doesn't work for. So I find it very useful. I use that quite frequently throughout the day as a lot of my job involves researching. So I'm looking at different articles. I'm clicking on this link to follow to this link. And sometimes I end up down a rabbit hole and oh my goodness, where did I start from? So I will often send those to my tasks to follow up on later. If I click on the link, then they just create in here as a separate task list. And I usually have a task called article or a list called articles that I use just for that specific thing that you can see. I've been cleaning out all of my to-dos because as I mentioned, I'm headed off to vacation. So I've been trying to get everything done. So I don't currently have my articles list open. And that is the last of my tasks extensions. Let me quick check on questions. So far, so good. And I think that was it. Yes. So that's the last of it for tasks. Hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully you found that it's a little less daunting and maybe a little more user-friendly now. Please, if you do have questions, go ahead and shoot them out in the chat or Q&A functions right now. We'll get to them here in the next couple of minutes. While you're working on that, I will let you know that December 11th is our final Learnabout for 2023, and we will be talking about Google Secrets. I'm going to share with you some lesser known Google products and sites that you may find useful, and in some cases, just quite fun. But definitely there are some that are useful, I think. You can access the registration for that through our website, metrolibraries.net registration. Again, I'm about to show you where you can find the slide deck. You can also register for Metro Briefs. That is our weekly newsletter. It's all about libraries and information. It tends to focus on Minnesota libraries because that's where we work. But if you are out of Minnesota, you will still find a lot of articles and information in it nationwide that you will find interesting, as well as there's a section on all of our events and programmings that we offer. You will also find a link to our YouTube channel where you can see all of the recordings. This one will be posted within a few days. Our admin will take care of that when I send it to her. And on the fancy little question, you see my email. If you have follow-up questions and I say this all the time and no one ever takes me up on it, but I am saying it to you now. If you have something you would like me to do a Learnabout on, to share more information on a topic, send me that topic. Say, hey, I'd love to know more about XYZ. And I will happily create a Learnabout just for that, just for you. This presentation is linked at bit.ly/learnaboutproductivity. And because I'm kind like that, I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the chat so you don't have to write that down. I am, but for some reason, technology is on my last nerve today. Copy. Thank you. Thank you, Kay. There is the link to the slide deck. Feel free to use that, share it, whatever the case may be. Of course, follow up with questions at any time. If you are pondering this and you run into a question, tomorrow, next day, etc., please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer questions at any time. That is what I'm here to do, is to help. Although, as I said, I'm going on vacation starting on Friday, so get them in before Friday or else you have to wait to the end of November. If there are no further questions, thank you very much. 4:58. I'm getting you out 2 minutes early.